This is the MOSHPIT Backstage podcast for punk, metal and rock interviews and segments.
Good evening, this is Karl WIlletts from Memoriam, and you are listening to the MOSHPIT on SIM.
Karl WIlletts is the vocalist from death metal band Memoriam, who will be releasing their first full-length For the Fallen on March 24th. Karl, thank you so much for joining me.
It's an absolute pleasure to be able to talk to you from across the other side of the globe this good, fine evening.
Well, the pleasure's mine in the morning. Now, before we get into some other questions, I know you've probably been through this about 100 times, but for our audience, could you just lay out the story behind Memoriam?
Okay. Time is limited, so I shall try and do an abridged version. I am a person that likes to talk, so I will try and cut this down as far as possible. So yeah, the band itself, Memoriam, we started back in the tail end of 2015. The band itself emerged through what was a period of time in my life where I wasn't really sure what was happening. Following the death of Martin Kiddie Kearns, the drummer, vault thrower, the band really decided that at that point they didn't know what to do. Was totally unsure whether there would be any future for the band at that point. He died in September 2015, so I spent a couple of months really, pondering what the future was going to hold for me, and it was a pretty dark place to be in. My whole identity is formed through being in a band and making music and playing gigs. So, I had pretty much a clear-cut decision to make. I came to the point whilst staring into the abyss of misery and despair in a way, and sorrow and grief. So from that, I thought, well, I can either sit around and wait for something to happen to me, which might never happen with Bolt Thrower, or I get off my backside and I do something about the situation I was in and create something new, do something positive, and create some light from the darkness that was surrounding me at that point. So really that's the whole reason that we I decided that I wanted to create a band, and which became Memoriam. So first of all, I got in touch with my old friend Andrew Whale, who was the former bolt thrower drummer back in the early days of the band, and a good friend of mine, and asked him if he'd be interested in just getting together and trying to create some joy in the rehearsal room and maybe recapture some of the feelings that we had back when we first started in bands back in the late 80s by jamming out some old cover versions of some old grindcore, crust, anarcho, punk covers, Discharge, Sacrilege, Amoebics, Axe Grinder, those kind of bands, Anti-Sect. And, he hadn't played drums for about 14, 15 years, but we weren't sure whether, he'd go for it, but, he succumbed. And, from that point onwards, we got Frank Healy, who's an old friend of ours, been in the music scene with BENEDICTION, Cerebral Fix, Sacrilege, all these bands throughout the years. And with Frank, we'd always talked about doing something together, but just never got around to doing it. So the stars aligned in a way. This was the time for us to actually do something. He'd just lost his dad as well, so he was in a pretty dark place as well, and we needed some kind of to create some joy in our lives, really, to kind of push ourselves forward. So we got a friend of Frank's, a guy called Scott Fairfax, who was then at that point just doing filling in on guitar for BENEDICTION, some live shows, and we got together, and that was the end of 2015, with the intention of just doing some classic covers and having a laugh and just getting together in the rehearsal room and just having some fun. And it was that point then when Scott came to us and said, well, I've got these riffs that I've written over the years. Do you want to have a listen to them? They might be the basis of some original material. And he fired those over to us on a MP3 player that we do these days. Technology has changed. And they formulated the basis of the first two songs we wrote, which was War Rages On and resistance. And he just kept on coming at us with these plethora of riffs. He's got like a whole PC rammed full of riffs that he's written over the years, which he hasn't used, and he kept on firing these over at us. And from that, we pretty soon had 4 or 5 new songs written, and the whole idea of doing covers went out the window. And we thought, yeah, this is the way forward. Let's do our own music and drive it from there. And it's just all grown really alarmingly fast pace. It's been like an avalanche. In the past year, we've achieved such a lot of things with Memoriam. First of all, we got 4 or 5 songs together. We went to record them just over a weekend because we wanted to hear the songs, what they sounded like, and learn them to play live. And from that, we released a 7-inch, which sold out in a matter of weeks. And that's when Nuclear Blast Records got involved. They knocked on our door and said, would you be interested in signing to us? And it's really, since then, we haven't looked back. Done a handful of European festivals to get a taste of the live performance, and went into the studios again and recorded For the Fallen, our debut album, last October, which is to be released imminently, March the 24th over here in Europe. And this next year, 2017, we've got quite a lot planned. So far, we've got about 15 European festivals that we've got lined up to play, and we're already in the process of writing the next album as well. So we intend to get back in the studio towards the end of this year to record the follow-up. So it's been an amazing experience, a journey which has been originally driven on from a dark place to a place of joy, a place of real happiness, and we're all really pleased with the way it's gone, and everyone seems to be quite happy with what they've heard so far. So long may that last.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. Particularly interesting is the fact that death metal is very often, for good reason, associated with violence, aggression, getting out your anger. And in a certain sense, this captures sort of quite another emotion and comes from sort of another place in a way.
Absolutely, yeah. I think our lyrical inspiration and the music itself really comes from a place of mourning. It's the whole album, For the Fallen, is in a way a tribute to Martin Kiddie Kearns. It's with his passing was the catalyst of the formation of the band, and we feel that he's with us throughout our careers. He's the driving reason as to why we got together in the first place. The lyrics that I wrote for the album are quite cathartic in a way of expressing my feelings of sorrow and grief through the best way I know how in a lyrical format. And a lot of the words in the songs do relate directly to our experiences, recent experiences of loss and mourning. And I think that's a subject matter that everyone can relate to, especially as we all get older as well. Death is it's almost like a taboo subject that you never really ever talk about until it's something that happens to you or directly to someone you know close. And then that feeling just comes to the forefront. So I think everyone can relate to it in many levels. We've all experienced some form of it, and as you get older, it happens more often. We seem to be living at the time as well. At that point in the late 2015, there was a series of kind of high-profile celebrity deaths as well. So kind of we were in a period where there's a lot of publicity and of death that seemed to be all around us in the media. And that particularly influenced me in a song called Surrounded by Death, which works on a variety of levels. It's a fascinating subject, but I think that my used phrase that I use quite often, that the music we create is almost like a celebration of life through death metal. We kind of like accentuate the positive side of things, and I think our music kind of relates to not the gore, not the violence, and but the more the psychological aspects. It always has been throughout my musical career. There's a large element of war within the lyrics. That's the main topical theme, and it always will be within the lyrics I write personally. But yeah, they work on many levels. They're never about the blood and guts side of things. They're all more about the psychological facts of it and the impact it has on other people. And that continues through Memoriam, and it will do throughout my musical career, I suppose.
Now, where does that fascination with war come from?
I don't know. I think it comes from playing soldiers as a child. I grew up, I've got brothers and sisters, but they're all about 20 years up from me, so I kind of had quite a furtive imagination, and I was quite into my military history. As I got older, I did lots of reading. I was quite interested in that areas. I got into military wargaming as well, and strategy and tactics. And I think it's just all developed from that, really. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of, that's had a big influence. I've never had a direct. I've never been in the army. I've never been in the military, forces or anything like that. But I know we have got quite a large following, and a lot of people that are in the military do support the music, and they get it. They understand where we're coming from with it as well. So that's great. So yeah, I think it's just a general interest in the history of war throughout the ages, to coin a phrase. It's an aspect that's endemic. It's within mankind. It's within our civilization, or our lack of civilization, and it's something that's been with us since mankind evolved and stays with us. It's relevant it's a relevant subject matter in the world we live in today. It surrounds us wherever we are as well. So yeah, it's a theme that's has a constant source of inspiration for me, and it'll always be that way.
In terms of the sort of psychological aspects, I don't know, the impact on people, it's very interesting. Over here in Australia, I kind of have a warped perspective because I follow a lot of the American news, and it's just very interesting to see the inability to kind of process what's going on in the United States in terms of Brexit and Trump. Are you seeing any of that in the UK over there?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what a interesting world that we live in. The whole media shebang, the whole issue of this lurch towards right-wing ideology, which is a global issue, that the rise of xenophobia and fear and hatred of other people is a subject matter which I find has been a massive influence in the content of the album for the Fallen. For me personally, living in the UK, the whole Brexit issue had a massive impact on my lyric writing. There's several songs on the new album. For example, Corrupted System is directly a reference to the system, the political system that we live in. Reduced to Zero, which has been released as well. That's again about the world we live in today. I'm a staunch believer of Europe. I'm all about unity and believer of acceptance of difference. It's difference that makes the world that we live in, and to deny that and to push that to one side, I find totally abhorrent. It's against all my principles and against all my political beliefs as well. So for this band, for me to actually have a bit of a platform to say something about it, it's been a great experience for me, because maybe in the other bands I was with, I'd have possibly, and I was a bit younger maybe, I'd have shied away from overtly political kind of lyrics. But with Memoriam, we've almost got like a blank canvas. We're not set to any formulas. We're not set to any specific standard of work before. We've got a clean sheet to work from. So I'm exploring all sorts of lyrical themes and finding it really, really enjoyable. And it's motivated by the world that we live in today, which is a scary place. The whole rise of Donald Trump, Le Pen in France, it just seems to be a whole, I don't know, kind of people are kind of like reactionary politics. People are trying to reacting against the status quo, the people that are in control. But they're reacting in the wrong way. They're being driven by the right-wing media. They've been influenced by people that kind of like haven't got a clue where their actions are going to take them. And it's a scary place. We're on the cusp of something very, very worrying. And for me, this has been a great source of inspiration in the new album and the words that I've written for it.
I'm aware that we only have a short time left, but it's been a while since most of you guys have been in the studio to record some stuff. What was it like getting back there? Were there any changes you noticed?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been such a long time since I've been in the studio to record anything. I mean, the last time I was there was 2004 to record Those Once Loyal. So, yeah, it's a hell of a long time. And for me, really, being in a band is all about recording. It's all about writing new music. The creation of music and lyric writing for me is the main part, the main element of being in a band. I always missed that. I really did miss that. And so to have that ability that opportunity to do that again has been a fantastic thing to do, and to be doing it with people I know and are experienced in songwriting has really, really worked well. And Scott, the new guitarist, he brings in a completely new element to what we're doing. As we work as a four-piece, there's different dynamics to what I've previously been used to doing as well. And as a result of that, we've introduced certain aspects of new technology as well. We use samples within the songs to kind of fill out the dynamics of them as well, which helps them, makes them sound a bit different and something fresh and exciting for me to engage with. So yeah, I mean, the songwriting process has been pretty quick, to be perfectly honest. We don't really ponder too much on what we do. We just create something, we like it, and we do it, and we don't dwell too much on it. We pretty much move on to the next song that's in our heads and we've got the riffs for. So it's an exciting time. It's a really exciting time, and to be able to do that again is a real joy. Is a real joy.
Memoriam's debut album, For the Fallen, will be released on March 24th. Karl, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Absolute pleasure. Nice talking to you.
Thanks for listening to the MOSHPIT Backstage podcast. You can subscribe to us on iTunes and Omni. To find out more about the show, go to www.syn.org.au/moshpit. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/moshpitonsyn and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at moshpitsyn. The regular MOSHPIT radio show broadcasts punk, rock and metal tunes and interviews every Thursday nights on SYN 9.7 on FM and digital radios. Listeners outside of Melbourne, Australia can stream SYN 9.7 online at www.syn.org.au. Thanks to Vintage Ruin for the music.
Hi, this is Tommaso from Flash Gun Apocalypse.
Hi, I'm Enid from Girls School.
I am Phoebe Pinnock from Heavenly Axe.
Hey, this is Gary Oldmead of the Misfits.
Hey, this is Kat Sproul from Horizon's Edge, and you're listening to the MOSHPIT on SYN FM.
Hi, this is Einar from Leopard.
Hi, I'm Virginia Lilly from the band Lily.
This is Raul from 1349.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Ali from Zebrahead.
Hey, everybody, this is Charlie Benante with Anthrax, and you are listening to the MOSHPIT on SYN.